thanks to our friends at PointsBet, I have no idea how to take that and turn it into what we're going to do. But PointsBet for 2021, the win totals projected, the over-under prop bet that you can make now. And we spotted some yesterday that, to me, look pretty ripe, like the Saints at 9. Are you kidding me? The Saints are going to win more than 9 games this year. Hashtag old takes exposed. The Rams at 10.5. I really like that one. Some of the others that we talked about yesterday I like. Let's see what we like or don't like in the AFC. And let's begin with the champions of the conference and the two-time champions of the conference. That's what I was trying to say. So I said it. Kansas City, 12. That's the highest number we've seen so far. 12 wins for the Chiefs, projects to 12-5. These are all based on 17 games. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by it at all, Chris. I would expect the Chiefs to win more than 12 games in 2021, despite the issues that they've had.
I'm with you, I think. Yes. 12 games in a 17-game season, again, with what they have on the offensive side of the ball and just how special Mahomes is and everything like that, yeah, I'm expecting them still to be one of the best teams in the AFC. And we've seen, again, the last few years, the defense continues to, be solid. It's not like it's like it was 5 years ago where you just went, man, the offense or they got to score. We don't know if the defense really can stop anybody. I mean, the defense they have a presence on that football team. They do make plays. So, yeah, even though it's still swayed to the offensive side of the ball, I still look at Kansas City as certainly being one of the best teams in the AFC.
I'm surprised to see the Chargers.
Yes,
at
that's
9.
the shocker there, right?
That's 9-8. I think they're going to be better than 9-8 with Brandon Staley, with Justin Herbert in year 2, if they can keep some guys healthy. And that's always the if with the Chargers. And I continue to say, when you've got these injury issues that play out over time, at some point you really have to take a step back and look at what your organization is doing to get guys ready, to keep guys healthy. It isn't just bad luck. We see guys get pretzeled up all the time on Sundays, and they pop up and they keep going. And the Chargers have to find a way to get their guys healthy and keep them healthy. If they can do that, they're going to sail past 9, Chris, in my view.
I mean, yes, it's like, again, it's total projection, but I think, what, Sportsbook is telling us here a little bit is like, wait, look at this team. There's a lot to like here. I mean, there is. I mean, when you look at the offense, it was one of the better offenses in football last year. We know they got a star quarterback. They got good receivers. They've tried to improve their offensive line this offseason, gave the big money to Corey Linsley, signed Matt Filer from the Steelers. So they're trying to be, help that part of their team. And as we talked about last year too, the defense is damn good. I mean, it was a top 10 defense in football all year long. So I think if you take away some of the management of games and some of the crazy things that happened to them last year, you look at them and go, wait, they could have won 9 games last year in a lot of ways, or at least been right around 500 or something like that. So I'm with you there. I look at the Chargers to be that team that didn't make the playoffs, that are certainly going to be in the playoff conversation for 2021.
And the other thing to keep in mind, all of the 4 teams in the AFC West will play, in addition to the 2 each round robin, they play every team from the AFC North, which is one of the tougher divisions in football, every team from the NFC East, which means fatten up the 4 teams from the AFC West. And that 17th game, and I've noticed some confusion out there, and I think Pete texted this last night. The 17th game doesn't mean it's the last game of the season. The last game of the season is always a divisional game.
What is up with people?
People think that the 17th game is the last game, that it's just like putting the tail on the donkey. It just means it's the extra game, the game that wouldn't have been played. It could be week 1. It could be week 5. It could be week 12. It could be week 17, not week 18. It won't be your last game of the season. But the Chiefs pick up the Packers in that interconference game, the champions of the NFC North. The Chargers, by virtue of finishing 3rd in the AFC West, will play the Vikings, who were the 3rd place. So that's another area where it's a little easier for the Chargers, a little tougher for the Chiefs, and surely that's a factor in these projections by PointsBet.
Yeah, I would think so, and and of course, just going back to the Chargers again. You look at them. I mean, how many games realistically did they blow at the end of the game last year? Really? I mean, they were a 7-9 football team that easily, I mean, could have been 10-6, maybe even 11-5. I mean, there were so many games where you just went, I can't believe they found a way to lose that game. That is unbelievable. They lost it. They outplayed that team for 58 minutes, 58 and a half minutes, and they lose. So there's great potential for that Chargers football team. And I'm with you. Yeah, it helps. The Vikings, that's win. Chalk it up for the Chargers. Win.
Ultimately got, I hear you, ultimately got Anthony Lynn fired, and Brandon Staley, who won rave reviews in his 1 year as the defensive coordinator of the LA Rams, staying in the same stadium, not just in the same city, but in the same venue, and has an opportunity to make that team into something it hasn't been in a very long time. And yeah, I think 9 is low for them. How about the Las Vegas Raiders at 7.5? They were 8-8 last year. Again, this is based on 17 games. If they fall under 7 wins, if they go 6-11 or worse, I don't know what it means for John Gruden. I still think it's going to take a lot for Mark Davis to fire his buddy. I really do. And I think Mark Davis is content for John Gruden to be the coach of the team. The team's been bad for, almost 20 years now. You can be bad and not have John Gruden, or you can be bad and have John Gruden. I don't think that this is a hot seat year for John Gruden. I don't care how bad they may be. And there's still a chance they're going to be pretty good. I just don't know right now. They fall into that category of I don't know what to make of them because of all the changes that they've made, specifically along their offensive line.
No, I know. It's a hard team to get a feel for as we sit here in April. It might be one of those things where you have to revisit this conversation after the draft, see what holes they fill, those type of things. But, yeah, there's the questions on the O-line. Excuse me. We know that. They did give Colton Miller that big contract. They re-signed Richie Incognito, right? They signed the center, Nick Martin. So they got him. So they filled some of those holes. But, yeah, it's a little bit hard to get a feel for them. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball, and I think we're still sitting there having the same conversation we did, at the end of the year. It's just like, what is there? What part of the defense is a difference maker? What part is special? Where is it going to come from? The production, the plays, those type of things. So I'm with you. I don't think Gruden's butt is on the hot seat. I don't. Maybe if they went 13-3 and it was a disaster, do I think he could maybe be in trouble? Okay. I still think he'd probably get the benefit of another year. They're in the process. They've rolled out the red carpet to let him get this team where he wants. And it's obviously not there yet. But there's still, a lot of question marks about this football team. Not sure where they're going right now.
AFC East, the Buffalo Bills were the champions last year. PointsBet has the Bills at 10.5 wins. A little bit of a surprise from 13-3 to either 10-7 or 11-6. I would expect the Bills to still be pretty good. They will have that first place schedule, and they will have a better rest of the division this year. That's where it gets interesting for Buffalo. Patriots better. Dolphins likely better. Jets, new quarterback who could be great right out of the gates. Who knows? After that 2-14 season last year. Yeah. So my first thought with Buffalo was that seems a little low, but then when you start broadening it a bit and you consider the rest of the schedule, you consider they are going to have those 3 first-place games, not 2 anymore, but there's 3 games now that are driven by where you finished. It could make it a little harder for Buffalo, and they're going to be in a tougher position to take anyone by surprise next year. This past year, there was a little element of that. We didn't expect this from the Bills. There'll be a team that gets circled a little more strongly by the opponents, and that, even though it's like, oh, that doesn't matter, in a long season, it does matter. There are teams that you take seriously. There are teams that you say, and they're no longer a team that you look at and say,
Yeah, no, you're right. They're here. When you have a quarterback like that, everybody's going to be watching you or ready for you when you come to town. So I'm with you there. Got to play the NFC South, the AFC South. Some tough games there. But I think ultimately the big thing, too, like is what you're saying, Mike. The division has gotten better. I mean, it's really good. I'm excited to watch the AFC East football this year. Again, I'm a huge fan of what New England did to improve their football team. And I think we're both big fans of what Miami's been doing to kind of get them to be a perennial power. So I still think the Bills are really good. But, yeah, there's more competition there this year. And I think the big thing with the Bills, too, more than anything, we know their offense is in a great spot. It's a special quarterback, but I look at their defense still to go, hey, it's good. They got Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott coaching it, and they do a lot of awesome stuff on that side of the ball. But they could use another playmaker, difference maker, something somewhere on the front four, maybe in this, maybe another corner. I don't know, but I would like to see them get a pass rusher or some disruptor up front to really help their team.
It ultimately was the offense that got stymied by the Ravens in the postseason when the Bills finally saw their run come to an end. Or wait a minute.
No, they lost in the championship game.
No, it was the other way around.
Yeah, it was a tough game. It was 10-3.
Right.
Lamar drove down.
It was a game where exactly.
And then he threw the pick six.
Misremembered.
Yeah, it's okay.
I apologize. A lot's happened in the past few months. It was a very windy night.
It was
in
very
Buffalo,
windy night.
And the Bills' offense still was not as impressive in that game as we thought it was going to be. The Ravens did a good job of stymieing the offense that was so high-powered. That's my effort to save my blunder. Blunders in New England galore last year, leading to a 7-9 record. They have gone all out to make the team better. I see that 9 sitting there, Chris, and I say, wow, I think the 9-8 for the Patriots this year, I'll go over 9-8 for the Patriots when you consider that they still managed to win 7 games with a roster that was so overmatched. The week in and week out willing of the team to be better than the individual parts may be, I could see the Patriots not necessarily catching the Bills, maybe they will, but getting to double-digit wins. I think that's an easy yes. Sign me up for that proposition.
I'm there with you, big guy, all the way. I mean, with that coaching staff, the way they set their game plans up, and of course the way they coach their football teams, and now you got talent to go along with that. And again, a talent that I think fits what they want to do. They don't give a damn what the rest of the world thinks and all of these type of things. They have a plan as far as how they want to play and the style of football they want to play. And I think all these guys they've gotten, even though maybe not be the sexiest names, are really damn good football players. They're going to help them accomplish their goal to play a certain way. And I think you're going to see a different Cam Newton this year. So, I mean, I'm with you. I think New England, they have a resurgence back to the top of football this year. And I expect them to be in a dogfight with the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East. I don't think I'm just going to give the AFC East crown to the Bills for a second year in a row.
The Dolphins won 10 games last year in a 16-game season. They are at 9 this year in a 17-game season. I can't help but regard that as a vote of no confidence in Tua Tagovailoa now that his relief pitcher, Ryan Fitzpatrick, isn't there.
I mean, I think so, too. I think there's a little bit like, hey, we all like the team and all of that, but again, even with Tua winning games, they were managed perfectly last year in a lot of ways. The defense made a lot of big plays to help out, those type of things. I think we're just not sure about them. Again, we know we can win games and do stuff like that, but for quarterback and especially playoff caliber teams and things like that, it's like those 1 or 2 games where you go, man, our team didn't play good, but damn, our quarterback was awesome. He got us over the hump today. We won a game. We didn't play our best football. I think that's the big question about them, And then the other thing, too, is just what do they get to help them out? Is number 6 pick going to be that wide receiver, that explosive element on offense that they do miss? They need one more stud muffin there to help them out on that side of the ball. Defense is pretty damn good. So it's all about Tua to me. It's about, can he make plays? Can they open up the offense this year around him to scare people and not have to play this, wait, we got to take care of him, we got to run the ball, and defense, I hope you hold them under 20 or around there or we're not going to win the game. That, to me, I just don't think it's realistic 2 years in a row, and I think that's where, you see this line being a little questionable.
The Jets at 6.5 caught my attention, considering they were 2-14 last year. And for the most part, these numbers seem a little high. There's a little optimism infused into them. We know that there will be teams that go under the number. There will be teams that win 3 or 4 or 2 or maybe even 1 game in a 17-game season. Who knows? But this shows that Vegas believes in where the Jets are heading, what they've done by hiring Robert Saleh, and also this assumption that they're upgrading at quarterback to go from 2 to 6.5, maybe more. I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know that I'd sign on for the over 6.5. I'm just surprised that that's where the number is. I would be hesitant about going over 5.5 or maybe even 4.5 if I were betting on this, just because the Jets still have a lot of work to do. There's no guarantee they're going to come out of the gates, especially in a division like this, and be dramatically better than they were in only 1 year.
No, I mean, it is. It's a tough division. I do think the new energy of Saleh, the new quarterback, all of those things are positives for the franchise. They've made some great free agent signings, during that period that like players that fit the way they want to play football, especially on the defensive side of the ball with Jared Davis. You're going to have him with Mosley at middle linebacker. Whoa, that's pretty damn good. You go out and they got a Carl Lawson, a legit pass rusher off the edge, a LaMarcus Joyner. They made sure they keep Marcus May. Those things make sense for their football team. Yeah, I don't know if I'd like bet money that they would go over that 6.5, Mike, but I mean, I certainly think they're going to flirt with it for sure. And they get another weapon wide receiver in the draft with Zach Wilson to go along with that, offense and what they're going to do there. They got some potential. They got something growing there. I'm excited to see Zach Wilson in that Jets uniform.
AFC North, the Steelers are down as expected. The Ravens finished 11-5 last year. They did not win the division. They are projected, based on win total, to do so this year with that 11 number on a 17-game season. I think that seems about right. The competition increasing in the division, and the Ravens, a team that I never can get a good handle on. When I think they're bad, they turn it around. When I buy in, they find a way to fall apart. I don't know what their ceiling is this year. They're one of the better teams in the conference, and I think 11 bears that out. There's just 4 teams that have that double-digit projected win total. So it feels right to me.
Yeah.
And it's one that I would avoid trying to guess over or under on.
No, I'm with. I mean, I would expect them to be right there and still really a big-time player in the AFC. Still, at the end of the day, the roster is just too damn good to think they're just going to fall by the wayside. And then you add that to John Harbaugh, and we have a special quarterback who make plays. It was a down year last year, and they were 11-5. That's where the Ravens have come to. So I look at them as still being a major player, but that division is real. I mean, as we know, Cleveland, those days are over. The Browns ain't the Browns anymore. They can beat Baltimore. They can beat Pittsburgh, as we know. And then, of course, hey, what's Pittsburgh going to be with Big Ben? There's those questions. Joe Burrow, his health, how effective can he be early on in the year? If he comes back like all systems go early on in the season, hey, the Bengals, they're going to be a pain in the butt for these football teams. They could add a loss to the schedule, something like that. Great division here, a lot of talent, but I'm still going to go with Baltimore as the king.
The Bengals, the only team in the division who have a projected win total higher than what they had last year. And again, the 17-game season accounting for some of the difference. The Steelers from 12-4 down to an 8-5 projection. And that feels just about right on the money from the standpoint of I have no idea whether I'd go above or below that, because it's just flat, even, win some, lose some. They could be dramatically better. They could be dramatically worse. But as of right now, they're just kind of there.
Why do you think it is? Yeah, I know. I mean, why? What do you think, like Vegas, sports book, anything here is looking at their points bet? Like, what are they looking at with Pittsburgh to make them really question it? It's just the way
I think it's the offense. It's got to be the offense.
Yeah, right?
It's got to be the offense.
Yeah.
And the 11-game winning streak was inflated by so many games that they easily could have lost. And you do get credit for ultimately winning those games. But Ben Roethlisberger, now 39, just because he was healthy last year doesn't mean he's going to be healthy this year. He had the knee issues that we continued to hear about all year long, even though he wasn't on the injury report. It could just be it's a degenerative arthritic type of a condition. There's nothing they can do about it. We can't treat it. There's nothing to do. You just got to gut it out. Who's their starting running back going to be?
Right.
What's their offensive line going to look like?
That's it, yeah.
What, are they going to have an offensive attack that makes sense? Last year, yeah, they threw the ball a lot, but it didn't allow them to win games when they needed to win games, and it caused their offense to sputter because it was all, or at least mostly, short passes. I think it's the offense that drags down the perception of this team. The defense is still fine.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Steelers, when the expectations are low, that is when they find a way to defy them. So, this may be setting up for the Steelers to just have a sneaky kind of a great year as we write them off. And I still think that the best move would have been to move on from Ben Roethlisberger, just because even if they have a good year, they're not going to be a Super Bowl team. I think that's really what it comes down to. If you're holding the band together in the hopes that you can get a Super Bowl out of this group, I think that there are fundamental differences between 2021 and 2005 when they held it together for one more year with Jerome Bettis and won the Super Bowl. And then the next year was Bill Cowher's swan song, and they finally got him a Super Bowl, and they finally got their 5th ring. Everything was set up for that from a talent standpoint. I feel like they have a gap between them and, at a minimum, the Chiefs and the Bills and possibly the Ravens, and who knows, maybe the way the Browns are going, maybe there's a talent gap. If you throw out the helmets and the names and the histories, maybe you could say the Browns, position by position, average player better than the Steelers.
No, I mean, listen, you said a lot of things that I agree with. You know, the Steelers, first off, I think you're totally right. It's all about the offense. Of course it is. The defense is special. I mean, it's a superstar defense. It really is. I mean, they got everything you want. Yeah, they lost Bud Dupree. That's going to hurt them. But they got pretty good replacements there as far as guys that are good, serviceable. Let's not forget, Devin Bush got hurt, the middle linebacker last year, who's so important to that scheme and everything like that. So it is. It's just about, like, what are they going to do on offense? You're right. Like, it's like, hey, we're going to try to maybe change the way we play or change something. I don't know. Were they capable? It's not like they had a lot of money in free agency to sign different players on their team and change the outlook of their offense altogether. It is going to be about that attitude. And the one thing I'll say, too, is, Mike Tomlin, the Steelers, they're renegades. So that to you, like what you're saying, where it's like expectations aren't high and everybody's sleeping on them, they are the kind of group that'll get chippy and, oh, yeah, we can't run the ball and do those things. And they'll take interest in, putting full pads on in training camp and doing those type of things. But I think the offense are all the questions. Yeah, Big Ben, where is he at? Can that offensive line block, and can they be more balanced? Because it's crazy the way they played last year, asking him to drop back that many times. And, yeah, can they have a running back that's a real difference maker? That's the big question. Yeah, it's great receivers, but we can't throw it every play. There's got to be something else with a 39-year-old quarterback, and I'm with you, Mike. I think that's got to be the big question there.
The ability of Mike Tomlin, the coach of that team, who is so incredibly well-respected among his peers, to get the absolute most out of whatever he has. 2019, they lose Roethlisberger week 2 in that game against the Seahawks, and he Tomlin nearly wills them to the playoffs. That was amazing, and I just think it now that the expectations are kind of bottoming out, I think that the Steelers, if they can keep key players like Roethlisberger healthy, they could surprise us with what they do in 2021. The AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans, both 11-5 last year. This year, a little gap between the Colts and Tennessee. The Colts, who picked up Carson Wentz in that trade with the Eagles last month, with 10 wins projected, and that when it all comes down to Wentz, but I could see them winning more than 10 games. If Wentz is the guy that he was before 2020, yeah, I could see it happen, Chris.
I can too. I mean, I think at base level, like, the Colts have the most complete roster in the AFC South. I think it to me, it would be hard to argue that right now. We know they got pretty good receivers. Yeah. They need, guys like Paris Campbell to be healthy and help them out. The running back's awesome. Offensive line, really damn good. They're going to figure out, I don't know, maybe they'll get an upgrade or draft somebody in the draft for left tackle. They have guys there that could certainly hold down the fort in the meantime. Defense, it's a top 10 defense. So, I mean, you look at everything that way, and you just go, hey, the Colts got it all. They really do. They're really close. They are in the Super Bowl window. There's no doubt. Mike, the same thing, like, I'll go back with them. there's a lot to love and like about their team. There's only one area I just wish they had a little bit more production or disruption or whatever you want to say. And that's just, I wish they could find a real big-time pass rusher off the edge. With the way they play and that kind of Seattle scheme, they don't want to blitz a whole lot. They are dependent on that pass rush. That'd be the only thing I can look at on a pretty well-built football team that I could go, I wish that was better. Other than that, it's all pretty damn good.
Jacksonville was 1-15.
Whoa.
They are like the Jets at a 6.5 projected win total. Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, is that enough to create that bump? They added a bunch of free agents. None of them are superstar caliber. It's all due respect. Trevor Lawrence, Urban Meyer, does that allow you to say this team can be good enough to get close to 6 wins or maybe get more?
That's a tough one. I mean, I don't know if the Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence bump is worth 5 games, right? I mean, I know we got the extra game this year and all of those type of things, but I mean, there's just so many, what is the offense really going to look like? Is it going to be an Urban Meyer college-y type offense? I think so. He's got guys like Darrell Bevell there, of course, who have been in the NFL for a long time. I mean, yeah, right now that's just a total projection on energy, the quarterback. Hey, good free agent signings, but I don't think anything that blows us out of the water there. I have no idea with Jacksonville what they're going to be, but at least it's exciting. We know that with the 2 new guys and the head coach and the quarterback. That's going to give that fan base and city, some fun times in the future.
It's amazing how overlooked Trevor Lawrence has been just because we regard it as a given. There's no mystery.
That's
It's
right.
been set up for multiple years.
Yeah.
Since we saw what he did as a freshman, we knew he was going to be the first pick. And now it's all these other guys we're talking about. Zach Wilson, thanks to you. Mac Jones, thanks to you. Others, thanks to you and others. And those are the guys we're focused on.
Yeah.
Because it's like the haze in the barn on Trevor Lawrence, and at some point it's like, oh, yeah, they're going to play football games. There's a chance he's going to be really good. There's a chance he's going to elevate this Jaguars team. There's a chance they're going to win more than 6.5 games in 2021.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.